you are going to cry a lot. Yeah, no. What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel, A Purposeful Place. My name is Hunter, or Mrs. Brannon is what the kids call me. I'm so glad you are here to watch my video on the 5 myths about first year teaching. If you have not seen my first video titled Teen Mom with a Career, then go ahead and go and check it out. I will link it down below. And don't forget to like and subscribe. This channel is all about how I was a teen mom, how I'm a second-year teacher, I'm a military spouse, all the great things. So I would love for you to check out my future videos as well. All right, well, let's get started. The 5 myths about first year teaching. I chose this topic because going into your first year can be so intimidating. And I know that I had a lot of preconceived notions about what I would be in store for. So I want to dive deeper into what my experience was and what I discovered wasn't really the truth from what I thought was going to happen. So we're going to start with number 5 first, and then we're going to work our way up to number 1. All right, number 5, your administration is your enemy. This is a big one, guys. Your administration is not your enemy. I know that sometimes you're going to meet some other teachers, especially in your school, who has been there for years, who are going to have their own frustrations, their own upsets, all of that jazz. But you have to go into it with your perception, your clean slate, and your own personal relationship with your administration. Try to keep that in mind, because people are going to be frustrated about different things than what you get frustrated about, okay? I am very supported by my administration. They really wanted to make sure that in my first year I was going to be successful. Anytime I had reviews, observations, anything like that, they always gave me positive feedback, things that we could work on together, all of that jazz. So just remember that when you're going into your first year, don't expect administration to be your enemy. I tell my principal all the time, and my vice principal, actually, she taught in the classroom that I'm currently in. So I took her position when she moved up to vice principal. But both of them, I've told them, I feel very supported by them. I know that when they go and meet with the superintendent to advocate for our school, they are advocating for us teachers. And that is very, very clear. And I really appreciate that. Make sure you go in with a positive mindset with your administration. Try to build that connection of communication, because that's really important. If you're frustrated, don't go and talk to a coworker and bad talk your administration. Approach them, set up a meeting, tell them these are my concerns, this is what I'm worried about. And a lot of times they want to fix the problem or help you to understand their thought process at the very least. So give them a chance. Go in with a clean slate. Just because other people don't like certain things doesn't mean that you don't have to like that principle. Let's move on to number 4. Your room and everyone else's will be Instagram/Pinterest perfection. I talked about this in my first video at the very end just a little bit. When I went into the school year, I was thinking, and this might sound silly, but I really thought that I was going to walk in and all of these rooms are going to be perfect, and other teachers' rooms are going to be so organized and cute and just, But guess what? They're not. They work for them, they're organized, they have their supplies, and that really helped me out a lot knowing that, because I felt this pressure of, ooh, everything has to be perfect. A part of that is being a first year teacher, being a type A personality, and wanting things to be organized the right way, wanting things to be cute, and making an environment that you love and the kids love. Absolutely. But it doesn't have to be perfect. And I learned that so quickly. It's okay if you have mismatched book bins. I learned very quickly not to just spend an arm and a leg on stuff. Wait to see what your teammates, what your coworkers don't need, and then take what you can grab. So for example, over the year, any white bin that I saw that was given, I grabbed it. So when we go into this new building, I have all these white bins that are used, but I got for free. So give yourself a break, especially at the start of the year when you feel like everything has to be perfect. By the first day of school, your room doesn't have to be perfect. And to be honest, you're probably going to change a lot of things. From group to group, things are going to be change. So you have to be flexible and don't expect that your room is just always going to be perfect and so unique and all that jazz. I loved my room. I loved how I set it up. It was not perfect though, and that's okay. All right, to myth number 3, you can't contribute in faculty meetings. Maybe you heard this already in student teaching, maybe not, and maybe you'll get it once you start. I got, oh my gosh, you're so young. Oh, you look like the students. Oh, you can't be old enough to be teaching. Oh, okay. Does that sound familiar to you? Because I know that it sounds familiar to me. Just because you are young or just because you are fresh out of college does not mean you cannot contribute. Okay, I'm going to say it out loud again for the people in the back. Just because you are young, just because you're short and you're the same height as your students or whatever it is, does not mean you cannot contribute. Own that you have a brain full of fresh knowledge in the education field. Own it. You have the leg up, really. You have just had access to all sorts of research. You have learned new methods that are implemented that other teachers don't know, especially older teachers who have been in the field for 20 years, 15 plus years, even 10 plus years. You have learned all the new, fresh things that work. So don't be afraid to speak up. And I've gotten really nervous speaking up because I have this fear that if I say something and I say it wrong, I'm going to sound uneducated, unintelligent, young, right? But I had to get over that pretty quickly. I wanted to share different ideas or different things that I've learned over the years. And in fact, in the fall with my 3rd grade team, when we found out we were going to be doing hybrid remote learning, I suggested flip teaching. We couldn't figure out how we were going to implement this hybrid teaching. It was going to be one set of kids at home and we weren't live streaming. So we had to figure out how we wanted to do that. And I suggested flip teaching. And guess what? We did it. We implemented it and my principal was obsessed with it. She loved the concept. So she loved that I was able to contribute that and that we were able to implement it, and then we were all able to bounce ideas off each other and become more successful as a group. So just because you're young, you're just out of college, does not mean that you don't know stuff. But you have something to give too. Don't sell yourself short. That's really important. Number 2, you should never send a student to the office. What? Wait a minute, what? I know that when I went into this school year, I said I would not send a student to the office. Would not do it. I have student taught in other schools where administration has said, do not send your kids to the office. We are busy. We have meetings. We do not have the resources to have students coming to the office. So I kind of went by that. But that's not how it always works out. I had wonderful students, but I also had very challenging behaviors in my classroom. And I know that within the first couple months of school, I struggled and I was trying to build these connections with my students. And so I'd pull them out in the hallway, and my school really promotes restorative practice, which means really diving into why that student did what they did and discussing with them and the person that it affected, how it affected them. I had one student specifically who had a really hard home life and struggled quite a bit. And I always was pulling her out in the hallway to have these conversations, to dive into these deep feelings that she had and to help her navigate, which I love doing, But unfortunately, my kids in my class, that would cause other behaviors to happen because they're left unattended in class and I'm having this discussion with this other student. So I had to find that balance. And that balance ended up being having her go to the office. Now, our administration, when students go to the office, they are not getting yelled at. They are not being, oh, you should not. No. When they go to the office, it's to sit in a quiet space that is different from the space they were just in and separated from other students to keep themselves safe and others safe. They have sensory items, they have coloring stuff. They'll have these discussions about their behaviors when the student is ready and comes down if they're up here. I had a student, and there were multiple students in the third grade in general, who would run away. Do you ever have any runners? Run out of the classroom or hide behind doors and you can't get them to come in and you have a whole classroom of kids and this kid is hiding behind the lockers. You can't just stand there and wait for them to come out. So you have to call for support. And at first I would say, I'm so sorry. I would email after sending them to the office. I'm so sorry. I don't mean to waste your guys' time. I wasn't sure what to do. And my administration came back and was so supportive. Hunter, we're here to support you. And we would have follow-up meetings about these specific students and how we could support them further and what they need. Sending a student to the office is not this horrible thing and you're not a bad teacher for doing it. Now, do you become dependent on it and not find the root of the problem? Absolutely not. But can administration be that support for you? Of course. Okay, so number one, I think that this is the number one. Maybe you might have disagreed with me on this one, but I heard this myth all the time. Number one myth, you are going to cry a lot. Okay, maybe you are somebody that cries a lot and you're like, hey, that's it. I own it. I cry a lot. I'm an emotional person. Fine. But I'm just talking about on a day-to-day thing. I really thought that my first year of teaching, I was going to be crying all the time. I thought I was going to just go by in a haze. I was going to be kind of drowning the whole year and barely keeping my head above water because that's the impression I had gotten. I even tried to watch a documentary on first year teaching on YouTube that was from like the early 2000s. And I really thought I was going to be struggling. But guess what? I didn't. I struggled, yes, here and there, but I wasn't drowning all year. I really thought that from September to December, it was going to be just so brutal, and by November, I'd be crying every day, and then after Christmas, it'd be so great. That wasn't the case. It was a great year. I had struggles. I did cry here and there. I had some really hard times with COVID and the quarantining. I had my coworker, who I'm teaming with, and we have rooms right next to each other. She was gone for 10 days. She had a quarantine. I didn't realize how much I depended on her going into her room to and then step back into my room until she was gone, and I couldn't do that. So I had a lot of people that supported me. I had my teammates, I had my administration, I had my husband, I had my faith. I had a lot of things that helped me really get through the year. I spent time for myself in the morning, journaling, reading my Bible, taking time with God, and having that moment to collect myself. And that's really what got me through that year. But I wasn't crying all the time. I loved it. I loved this year. I had some tough behaviors. I had some students with really tough home lives, but I loved it. I loved my kids. I loved what I was doing, even when I struggled. I was not crying the whole year, and you don't have to cry the whole year, okay? You can go in positive and know that it's going to be a good year and you are going to be successful. You're not going to be drowning. You have the tools for success. Make sure you find your support and take that time for yourself because it's really important. That covers the 5 myths about first year teaching from my experience. If you are past your first year of teaching, Do you agree with my 5 myths, or did you have different experiences? All of us have completely different stories to tell. So if you have something different or similar, go ahead and comment below. If you liked this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. I will be posting videos about once a week, and I can't wait to share more. All right, guys, thanks so much for watching. This is a purposeful place, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.